Imagine waking up every day, looking in the mirror and seeing that you don't have a nose. It's a terrible thought, but it's a reality for a growing number of Australians suffering from skin cancer or misadventure. Advanced surgical techniques mean lives are saved, but they're missing a vital part of their body. Facial prosthetics can help give these people back their life in public. Royal Melbourne Hospital is now a centre of excellence for this kind of groundbreaking work. The specialists there are involved in creating everything from eyes, ears and noses to fingers and toes. Lateline's Ginny Stein discovered the chance to blend back into the world can be a lengthy and emotional experience.
Steve Sparks has lived a most remarkable life. A former funeral director, he's stared down his own death 6 times so far. He's a walking, talking, real-life version of TV's $6 Million Man.
A man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
First was an artificial eye, and then I had a liver transplant, then an artificial nose, artificial dentures and surgical procedure on my ear.
Of all the battles, it is his most recent fight for his life against skin cancer that has been the most challenging. And the reason for that is because it resulted in his nose being surgically removed.
Well, before I had a lot of bandages, so looked a bit like Hannibal Lecter. So that was really bad. I mean, you just didn't want to go out. You scared the little kids. You know, it was just horrifying. So getting this is so much better because unless I mention it, people don't even realise. I mean, these glasses I'm wearing are just glass. They're there just to hold the nose in place.
G'day, Steve.
How are you?
Good to see you.
It's now a year since Steve's nose was removed, and today he is one step closer to getting a high-tech prosthetic replacement.
The more I agitate this plaster, the quicker it'll set, so give it a good beating.
Greg Pett began his working life as a dental technician. He's been rebuilding faces at Royal Melbourne Hospital for decades.
Okay, ready for a bit more weight coming onto your face? It's just the plaster. I'll get it into place. Sorry about the rough handling. We'll capture a face cast model of Steve, and that's our foundation for the work, for the making of the nose. All of the other anatomy is in place, and the wax nose prosthesis being fitted to this model gives us the best replication of what the prosthesis will look like.
I can feel it cleansing my skin.
Yes, it does. It's just like a face mask.
This is a job that's one part medical, another part technical, with a final measure of pure artistry.
The range of materials to imitate skin tones is there's a dozen different types of vein colour that we can add to the silicone in rayon flock. The tones is an incredible palette of colours that come in artist oil tones, and just the very mixing of those in the formula required to match the individual is the aim of the game.
Facial prosthetics aren't new inventions. For centuries, people have tried to mask missing parts of their face.
If we go back to kind of the development of facial prosthesis, you can actually track this back to ancient sort of Egypt and China. They've actually described human beings have always tried to replace missing body parts and facial parts. They've actually described facial prosthesis made out of wood, clay, even gold and silver.
But it's the advances in the way that prosthetics are attached that has been perhaps the most remarkable and life-changing.
Initially, they were taped and adhesives were used, and of course this was frustrating for people because they have to apply the adhesives daily and maintenance could be quite difficult, and there was still sometimes social embarrassment when they became dislodged.
Now there are magnets.
These are titanium implants that are implanted into the bone. The bone grows onto the titanium, and onto those titanium abutments, the magnet keepers are held in place permanently.
It just snaps.
Yep, finds its own path and it literally leaps out of your fingers and into the position.
Making facial prosthetics is a specialist craft, probably unknown to most people. At Royal Melbourne Hospital, 2/3 of this centre's clients are cancer patients. With skin cancer on the rise, so too are the number of people coming here hoping to get help to blend back into the crowd.
It's certainly becoming more of a clinical situation we're seeing, partly because the incidence of skin cancer in Australia has been rising, particularly over the last few decades.
Advances in medical science mean surgeons are now able to operate on patients who previously they could not.
For the tumours that were deemed inoperable, patients received palliative care, so further treatment couldn't be offered. And nowadays, as we're able to more safely operate on some of these tumours, obviously we're left then with the reconstructive conundrum.
Good afternoon, Steve.
Good afternoon.
Have a seat.
Today, Steve Sparks is one step closer to receiving his new nose.
Red Nose Day has a whole new meaning. It's wax and it can change. It won't be the colour you end up with. I'm happy with that. Would you like to go and have a look in the mirror and see what you think?
Sure.
Is it smaller?
I don't know. Is it?
That shrinks object.
No, I don't think this. I think that one's smaller, isn't it?
That's probably smaller, but it's like millimetres now. I've added to it.
It must be the colour then.
It is. It really makes an enormous difference.
Yeah.
A solid colour like that that's so hitting in the eye.
For Steve Sparks, this has been a long journey from the day he was told his nose would be removed.
They explained it to me and I was absolutely devastated. I mean, all I had was visions of having this huge hole in my face. So, you know, the first reaction was, oh, I'm going to have to just lock myself away in a room for the rest of my life.
Facing the mirror was one of his biggest hurdles.
Just call me Rudolph.
It took me a while, I must admit. I had a lot of bandages on, as you could imagine. There was bandages across, and so I was barely recognisable. So it was something that I had to build up the courage for.
Okay, here's the result of our colouring effort.
Now he's one step closer to being able to go home to Darwin. After more than a dozen medical procedures since his skin cancer was diagnosed, he'll soon be getting his snap-on, snap-off nose.
Well, that's exciting because I'm going to be able to do things that I haven't done for more than 12 months now, and that's to put my head under the shower and just have the water on my face. That's going to be a wonderful feeling.
It's been a long wait, but Steve Sparks is indeed one of the lucky ones.
People find they have to lobby for support in getting to Melbourne to have the prosthesis made. It's difficult, and if there's first world cancer treatment, there should be a first world facial prosthetics rehabilitation to back that up. If they're going to take parts of the face off, the restoration through prosthetic rehabilitation is the way to go.
And very soon, Steve Sparks will be one more happy customer. He's able to finally go home with his head held high.